A couple of days ago, this YouTube channel, Jubilee, came out with a new video called Do All Vegans Think the Same? And me, as a vegan of 2 years, going on 3, and a new vegan activist, I just thought it would be interesting to get another vegan's perspective on the video, so.
Here's Spectrum Vegans.
I refuse to eat at a table where people are eating animal products. In my mind, it's the same thing as if you're eating a dog or a child in front of me.
So this guy is talking about the Liberation Pledge. Basically, through the Liberation Pledge, you just decide that you're not going to eat at the table with other people who are eating animal products. I didn't actually participate in that pledge, but I do know people who have, and if you want to, I think that's great. If you don't want to, I think it works as well.
You can be vegan for reasons other than ethical. 3, 2, 1.
I guess it's just in the definition. Veganism is a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as practicable and possible, all forms of animal exploitation and cruelty to animals for any reason, clothing, food. It's about animals being ethical for them.
I love this guy already. I don't know who you are, but you're amazing. I completely agree.
Didn't become vegan with any sort of ethical reasoning in mind. I just was very sick all the time, and I just had an inclination that if I stopped eating animal byproducts that I would feel better, and I did. And all the ethical reasons came as a result of me looking at my health and seeing that change. I definitely have stayed vegan because of ethical reasons, but I became vegan for my health.
So Nikki, when you first went vegan for health reasons, you weren't actually vegan. You were just on a plant-based diet. You, I'm sure, were still attending, zoos. You were going to circuses. You were participating in other types of animal cruelty. Once you go vegan, your entire life has to change because you no longer participate in any sort of animal abuse or animal cruelty. So yeah, you can eat a vegan diet, which I would call a plant-based diet, but you weren't really vegan in the beginning. But it's great. A lot of people come to veganism or find out about veganism because of their health or because of the environment, and that's fine. You can get introduced to veganism in that way, but at its core, veganism is about ethics. It's not really about anything else. There are other sort of side benefits, but you weren't vegan in the beginning, and now you are, and that's awesome. Thank you for coming to the dark side.
I became vegan for health reasons, but I think the end goal of veganism is animal liberation. So I feel like that's more plant-based when you're vegan for health or vegan for something else, because at the end of the day, we seek to use products that have no animals in them at all.
The reason why I went vegan was for the environment. Climate change is real. You could do more good for the environment by being vegan than giving up your car, which is insane. I guess the ethics came afterwards, which is why I agree with you guys. I feel like we both think the same things, but why I started wasn't for ethics, which is why I'm here.
So once again, in the beginning, when he first started and he went vegan for the environment, he wasn't actually vegan. He was probably following a plant-based diet, and I'm sure he participated in other things. And we actually see this in the environmentalism community a lot. People might cut back on their meat consumption, but still purchase leather products or wool socks or products that are made with animal products because they're considered to be a natural material that's more sustainable. So he probably wasn't vegan. Hopefully he is vegan now and he's not purchasing those products, but the point is veganism is more than just a diet. It's an ethical lifestyle. It's a philosophy. And it really depends on your morals and your values, and less on the food that you eat or even the way that you feel about the environment.
I will not buy or cook non-vegan items with loved ones. 3, 2, 1.
This one's tough because I've bought a chicken burrito for my brother. He would go get it anyway, and that's maybe not the best way to go about it. Maybe I should deter him, but the way I try to promote my diet is just by being an example and not by forcing it into someone else, because I just think that if maybe like I had bought a vegan burrito, he would just like be resentful of veganism even more because he didn't get what he wanted.
Buying it?
No. I mean, I think you have the right idea. You do want to lead by example, and that's fantastic. And I think you can also outreach people and explain to them why you're vegan and why you went vegan and why you think veganism would be an amazing lifestyle for them as well. But by purchasing a product for someone else, you're participating in the animal agriculture industry. I mean, our economy is run by supply and demand. So when you put your money towards an animal product, even if you're not eating that animal product or using that animal product, when you pay for it with your own money, you're telling companies that they should produce more of that product. So even if you're buying it for your brother. Now, if you think he would still go out and buy that product, that's fine. Let him go out and buy that product, but he needs to do it. And if you not buying it for him is another barrier for him buying that product, then that's great, because that means that it's going to take him, 2 extra steps. It's going to be more inconvenient for him to get that thing, and he'll be less likely to purchase it on his own. And the other thing I would say about that is it's sort of it's an argument we hear from non-vegans all the time, like, oh, people are gonna buy animal products anyway, why should I change what I do? Or companies are going to produce animal products anyway. Companies are always gonna kill cows and pigs and chickens. Why bother? I can just buy it. And I know that's not what she's saying here, but it is sort of in the same line of thought. The reality is that they won't produce those products anymore because you won't be creating a demand for them, or at least you'll be lessening the demand for them. So eventually, if we all went vegan tomorrow and we stopped purchasing animal products, then companies wouldn't make them anymore because there would be no one to buy them. So I cannot agree with that way of thinking about veganism at all.
Or preparing animal products or anything that's not vegan for somebody is enabling them to fund the very oppression that I'm against. Like for me, I've taken the Liberation Pledge, so like I'll refuse.
Right, this is what I was talking about in the beginning, the Liberation Pledge. It can work. I personally don't participate in it because I also think that there's value in eating vegan food with non-vegans to show them like how easy and convenient veganism can be. But I can see why you would also participate in the Liberation Pledge. It's like 2 means to the same end, and I think both are equally as effective.
To eat at a table where people are eating animal products. In my mind, it's the same thing as if like you're eating a dog or a child in front of me. You're not gonna wanna like stay at that table and be with that. You're gonna wanna like try to change those people.
Okay, so if you're gonna try to change people, don't you think it'd be beneficial to sit with them, because then you could expose them to your point of view?
So actually every single person that I've told the Liberation Pledge about, they've had no problem changing their meals and going to vegan restaurants with me. If you care about me as a person, how could you not change one meal?
My approach is like leading by example, right? All of my family knows you're not going to come to my house and bring any animals in or ask me to prepare it, but I do a lot of cooking. So I think what has brought me a lot of joy is like taking everything that I know my family loves to eat and veganizing it. And I've seen like my mom, my dad, and my brother, who I never thought would go vegan in a million years, go vegan. And I do know that if I would have had the approach of like judging them or, coming too aggressive, it would not have been met with love or understanding at all. Not forcing it on them, it has actually helped them come over to the dark side.
I don't think that by doing the Liberation Pledge, you're forcing veganism on someone. I think what you're doing is telling them that you're not participating in the animal agriculture industry in any way, shape, or form, and that if they want to participate it, they need to do it on their own time, and that you're not going to stand up for that. And I would say that it's the same as sort of any other form of oppression or like any other social justice issue that you don't agree with. Like if you don't agree with child abuse and you know that your brother actively beats his children, you may not spend time with your brother. Even though you love him and he's part of your family, you don't agree with this very important issue that he's participating in. So I think that's where the one guy is coming from and being part of the Liberation Pledge. And I will say I do agree with that girl who's talking about cooking for her family, because like, you know, my family is not vegan. They probably will not go vegan maybe ever, maybe for a long time. But when they're at my house, we're eating vegan. And when it's like my birthday or a special event for me, I make sure to choose a vegan restaurant. My partner is not vegan, but I never cook food for him that's not vegan, and I don't purchase food for him that's not vegan. So if he wants to eat something that's not vegan, he needs to buy it on his own. He's the one actively participating in that industry. I'm not going to sacrifice my values for his happiness, because at the end of the day, it's not about him and it's not about me, and it's not about making, you know, our relationship easier to navigate or making him feel more comfortable or even making my family feel more comfortable. It's about the animals who are dying every single day because of, you know, 10 minutes of pleasure we experience after eating these foods.
You're still vegan if you allow yourself an exception occasion. 3, 2, 1.
Where do you draw the line then, I guess? Like, you're bending your own morals every once in a while. It's the same thing with like meatless Mondays. Like, we don't have like homophobic free Tuesdays. Like, it's every day is homophobia free, right? So like, it's the same thing for me. If like you slip up, it's like saying like, oh yeah, I just am like totally fine with certain amounts of exploitation if I'm doing it.
Say you're traveling and it's genuinely hard to find like vegan food. You can't like survive on like just like lettuce all the time. And in certain like cultures, like say like China, like it's really hard to find something without meat.
I've grown up.
I completely disagree with this guy in the middle. I mean, Chinese food is one of the foods that's like easiest to make vegan, so I think that was a terrible example. And I'm sure there are some places in the world where it may be difficult to eat a vegan diet. I'm specifically thinking about like in the north, maybe like farther, very far north, like in Alaska, and I'm sure there's still people there who are eating a vegan diet and thriving off of it. You know, I myself, I went vegan in Bogota, Colombia. Like, Latin America is not thought of as being this place where there are tons of vegan options, but that's where I went vegan, and I've been vegan ever since. Last summer, I spent the entire summer in a small rural indigenous village in Mexico, another place where people often say like, oh, you know, what about indigenous people? They could never go vegan. And I ate vegan there the entire time. So, I mean, no, I don't think that that's true. I will say there may be some exceptions for people that like don't realize things are or aren't vegan. In the beginning of my veganism journey, I didn't know a lot about honey and I kept eating it. Then I discovered more about it. I realized, no, it's not vegan to eat honey. And so I stopped eating that. And then the other thing I would say is that veganism is about doing everything that is possible and practicable. So if you were in some sort of survival situation, or you were like stuck out in the middle of the rainforest, you know, and you found yourself one day like without any food to eat and you like literally thought you were gonna starve, then yeah, sure, it's still, I would say it still falls into the realms of veganism to eat that kind of food in a survival situation. But the reality is that if you're vacationing in another country, you're not in a survival situation. So no, you know, one glass of milk, you know, one sprinkling of cheese, one chicken wing, those small things cost an animal their life. So if you can be okay with taking away someone's entire life for your 5 or 10 minutes of taste pleasure, then unfortunately you're not a vegan, and you need to do some more research and like think harder about your values and what's really more important to you. Is it someone's life, or is it that convenience or that pleasure that you get from eating that food? And the other thing I'll say is that you'll notice the people who agree with these statements are the people who didn't go vegan for ethics, and that is the real difference. You see, you have the environmentalists, you have the health vegan, and you have this girl over here who's like in the completely agree category, who buys her brother animal products. And they obviously have not made the entire ethical connection yet, because if they had made that connection, then they would be on the opposite side. they would be in the strongly agree category. With my homies back there, I love these two people back here, this guy and this girl, they're amazing. I'm sure they're both activists. I can feel it in my bones.
In different countries and surrounded by different cultures, and we live in a place where veganism is almost mainstream and it's super accessible, but there's developing countries where that's just not the case.
Even though like Beyond Burgers, Gardein, like those aren't accessible worldwide, we have fruits and vegetables everywhere. And like, I don't want to just tell everyone to only like
there's food
basic
deserts
plants,
though, and in food deserts that's not necessarily always true. Because I've been in these situations where it's just not really a sustainable option to feed your.
I would go back to the question, which the question is actually, can you be vegan and still eat animal products occasionally, or like something along those lines? And you know, sure, those people, maybe they can eat a plant-based diet, but they're not vegan. And that's it. You can't eat vegan and participate in animal cruelty, participate in animal abuse, participate in animal murder. You can't participate in these things and still be vegan, because it's completely in contrast to the vegan ethical message.
Feed yourself 100% vegan.
Is it more of like a convenience thing, or is it more of a like, there's literally nothing available? There's not a banana or an apple or a bean.
I spent 3 months near the Arctic Circle in Iceland, and in Iceland their diet is just, it's such a...
That's so funny. Actually, there are vegans in Iceland, and there are vegan activists in Iceland, and it's possible to eat a vegan diet in Iceland, so I'm gonna nix your argument right there.
Cold climate, it's all like sheep, fish, you know, it's really dairy, because
but they don't
that's
have
what
any
the
fruits or
land,
vegetables out there whatsoever at all?
the climate doesn't allow for that unless you're building greenhouses, which, you know, is like how they're moving. But in remote villages where there's only 20 people, you know, you can forage flowers to make tea and like little berries here and there, but that doesn't sustain people for the kind of climate that they experience.
Yeah, so the question is not like, should everyone in the world go vegan, or, you know, can everyone in the world go vegan? It's, can you be vegan and occasionally eat animal products? So those people aren't vegan. I'm sure they have no desire to be vegan. They may not even know about veganism. And it may be that veganism is not accessible to them. But that's not what the question is about. So the question is about you. Do you always eat vegan? And would you, occasionally eat animal products and still consider yourself to be vegan? And I would say, unless you're in a survival situation, the answer is no. You are not vegan if you eat animal products.
I've been bullied for being vegan. 3.
Everyone needs to go to the strongly agree category. Oh, yes.
Where I come from, Orange County, is just a really nice place to be vegan. People really understand why people are vegan. Every now and then you get the, bro, you look like you need a hamburger, but I mean, it's not that bad.
I became vegan in 2006, and I didn't know anybody else who didn't eat meat or was vegan. Like, I got left out of like a lot of dinner plans and stuff like that with family and friends. They didn't want to pick somewhere that I could also eat at. They wanted to stay with what they wanted to eat. I don't think that I feel bullied for being vegan now, but when I first became vegan, I definitely did.
I get people who try to take like my blackness away. They'll say, you're not black if you're vegan. How can you be black and vegan? And it really does mess with your head. I'll get a lot of social media bullying to the point where sometimes it does affect my mental health, just because I try to be a good person, but just someone finds out you're vegan and it's like the world hates you. And I think it's really easy to bully people online.
If you wear leather.
I get bullied all the time as a vegan. I get bullied in public, I get bullied by my family, and honestly, being bullied and like this idea I thought I was gonna get made fun of was one of the things that prevented me from going vegan for a really long time. I actually have a video about that if you guys are interested in watching that. I'll link it up in the cards. But I stopped caring about, the potential of being bullied when I realized that veganism is not about me, it's about the animals. So, as bad as I feel being bullied and, as terrible as it is, it's nothing compared to what the animals are going through in slaughterhouses and on these farms, and it's incomparable. So yeah, vegans do get bullied, but that's starting to change for sure. Yeah, it's getting a lot better.
You are now vegan. 3, 2, 1.
What? Okay, wait. What's your
I
explanation?
think if you consciously consume leather and buy it and wear it because you want to and you're conscious of that choice, then it's not vegan.
Oh,
But
okay.
the way our society is structured, there's so many accidental cases in which you could be owning or wearing a vegan thing. Like you ride a bike, a lot of bike seats are leather, and it's hard to always know exactly what you're purchasing.
To me, it's like just not fair to the animals for us to like abuse our own ignorance and not actually take the time to research.
I think people do have excuses, especially in like poorer neighborhoods. They're working so much, they don't have the time to consciously go out and research about veganism. I think that's more of an issue that comes up.
I come from a lower class, working class background, and this excuse irritates the crap out of me because it always makes me feel like people are trying to say like, oh, poor people are too stupid to be vegan, or poor people are too stupid to understand ethics. Like, that is not true. We are all capable of understanding ethics and morality. We're all capable of living an ethical, moral lifestyle. We're all capable of veganism. Don't try to disempower someone. Don't try to take their moral agency away by, you know, excusing it because they're poor. No, just no.
When you have more income and more choice. And I just want to say, yeah, by the way, this is fake leather, this is fake leather.
Don't tear them apart in the comments.
Yeah, please guys.
I think it's really important though that we like have a very clear message of what veganism is, because when we start to make excuses, then people who aren't vegan and are just learning about it, they have a confused message of what it is.
You are a better person if you were vegan. 3, 2, 1.
This is such an interesting question. I can't wait to hear what they say, but it's just so funny because I just had this conversation with one of my vegan activist friends about whether or not you can be a bad person. And at first I was like, of course you can be a bad person. Like Hitler was a bad person, and like Ted Bundy was a bad person. And he was like, I don't know, Tiffany. I don't think you can be a good or a bad person. I think we just all are a product of our biology and our experiences, and that no one really has a choice in life. And I was like, oh my god, this is way too philosophical for me. So I'm curious to see what these people think.
So I wouldn't say like I'm a better person than other people in general, but me as an individual, I am a better person than I ever was before, and I guarantee that anyone who goes vegan will be a better version of themselves.
I think I'm a better person because I'm vegan, but I know vegans who are racist and homophobic, and to me, they aren't good people, you know? I think they make good choices when it comes to what they consume.
I think to be vegan, which is why I was in somewhat disagree, because I feel like if you're racist and you're homophobic or you're an oppressor, I feel like that's very anti-vegan. Just in my personal opinion, I feel like vegan is an anti-discrimination, anti-oppression movement. It's really hard to be racist and be vegan. I would not consider you vegan if you're homophobic or racist or something like that, because we are animals. How can you be discriminating against humans in that form? So that's why I'm here, someone who's truly vegan, who is of those values. In my personal opinion, I don't feel like they're better, but I feel like they are a good person.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That was amazing. This girl is awesome. I need to follow her on Instagram.
I love learning.
Yeah, so that's an interesting video. I think overall the message you need to take from that video is that veganism is not a diet. It's an ethical lifestyle. And so I think probably some of the people in this video aren't actually vegan. They just follow a vegan diet, and they don't realize that, you know, the actions that they're taking are not vegan. If they were willing to learn more about veganism and change their actions, I would say that they are vegan, because you can't know everything about veganism the first day that you do it. You know, you discover something new and you stop doing whatever it was that was harming animals. So for example, for a very long time, I didn't know that wine and even some kinds of beers were not vegan, that, you know, many of them are processed with animal products. And so I was just, you know, drinking any kind of wine all willy-nilly because I wanted to. And very recently, you know, I realized that, yeah, a lot of wine isn't vegan, so that's something that I need to change about my lifestyle. It doesn't mean that I wasn't vegan before, but now that I know, I have to change my actions to align them with my ethics and my values. So yeah, I mean, these people, it very well could be that they're thinking about the ethical implications of their actions, and they do actually want to go vegan and not just plant-based. But it sounds like at least a few of them are not actually vegan, and they just consume a plant-based diet. So very interesting. I'm also curious to hear what you guys think, so leave me a comment down below and I will get back to you. We'll have a good discussion about what veganism is, what it isn't, and what you guys think about this video. I think it was a pretty good one. I always enjoy these Jubilee videos, so it's good to get people who even have the same, you know, values in a room together and see all the differences between them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.
So you treat me lesser than, but you are so wrong.